What a disaster. My goodness. Bitcoin has fallen today. MicroStrategy's fallen today. But the disaster is not that. The disaster is Bybit. And their massive billion-dollar mistake. Apparently Bybit had a phishing scam as one of their cold wallets or warm wallets, whatever that means. Not quite sure, but what we do know is that Bybit is saying they have lost over $1 billion of Ethereum. Oopsies! So this video is a very urgent warning. If you have funds on Bybit, let's withdraw, okay? This is a slowly then suddenly moment. I have ranted to you for many, many hours over the course of multiple years to get your coins off of exchanges. In recent weeks and months, we've had the FTX payouts happening, more to unfold. All that stuff is happening with the FTX payouts. You've had to wait 2.5 years. Congratulations, you're getting some of your money back, but in terms of real purchasing power and numbers of Bitcoins you're actually getting back, you're probably not getting back as much as you had, and you had to wait 2 years. And now with this Bybit thing, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm not making any prediction of the future. I'm only telling you with what you can do right now. See, this is what most people want to do. They want to come on YouTube videos. They want to seem smart. They want to predict the future. I'm not going to predict the future. I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen to your money if you leave it on Bybit. I don't know. What I do know is that we can think in probabilities. Let's ask a very simple, very basic question. What is more likely? That nothing ever bad happens to your Bitcoin or to your crypto or your funds or your cash or your stable coins or whatever, or something somewhere goes wrong? Well, let's think in probabilities here. Let's just think of the different options. If one thing and one company and one moment goes wrong at some point in the future, then you know beyond a shadow of a doubt that it's not 100% safe. It's not 100% secure. See, this is the problem I think many people haven't reflected on. People assume, oh, the exchanges know what they're doing. They assume the exchanges know what they're doing. The exchanges are secured. The exchanges are regulated. The exchanges are backed. They're insured. They're blah-blah-blah, whatever, right? Forgetting the fact that FTX was one of the most regulated exchanges in crypto history. Now, granted, a lot has happened in the last 2.5 years, and granted, they were offshore, and granted, you could say all those things, but the reality is that they were regulated. Their U.S. branch was regulated in the U.S., being the most forthright and the most prolific when it came to advertising, and it was a complete fraud that somehow got by everybody's noses. It somehow got through all the regulators. And so what if there's a partial degree of fraud in some other exchange that maybe is not quite as big, right? Like one of the biggest exchanges ever in crypto history, FTX, I believe, second largest at the time, right? One of the largest exchanges that was complete fraud snuck by US regulators. And you think that all the little exchanges are like, you're assuming everything's going to go perfect. Really? Like, let's zoom out, just put the money aside. Let's think to your life. Every single one of you watching, every single number in the viewership tab down there is a person, right? Probably hundreds or thousands, maybe even 10,000 people are watching this video. That's 10,000 human lives, okay? None of us with a straight face could say, I believe nothing ever bad is ever going to happen again to me. Like, what are you drinking, right? I'm drinking water here in Costa Rica, and I'm just fine. But whatever Kool-Aid you're drinking, I don't know if I want any yet. Or, I don't know, maybe I do want some of it, given how insane you're sounding, right? Like, something bad is going to happen to you at some point. You're going to get a cold. You're going to stub your toe on the bed frame. You're going to die. You're going to get a terminal illness. You're going to get cancer. You're going to drop your phone in the neighborhood pool, right? I don't know. But at some point, something somewhere, whether it's trivial or existential, whether it's short-term or long-term, whether you forget it in 5 minutes or it is permanent, something somewhere is going to go wrong. And today, something very big went wrong with Bybit. And now $1 billion of Ethereum has been lost. And so if you're watching this and you have any money in Bybit, get out now. Withdraw to self-custody now. This is no longer optional. This is no longer a luxury. You don't have the privilege of clicking on any other content on YouTube. You don't have the privilege of reading any more Bitcoin content, articles, podcasts, whatever. This is do or die. If you have funds on Bybit, this is it. Act right now. I'm sorry, I tried to warn you. We don't have the luxury of time anymore. Feel free to reach out to me. However, I have plenty of other work I need to do today. I have calls scheduled with people who were proactive, who did book me in advance, who I'm already helping with their problems going on. And I understand this is an emergency, so I'll do everything I can to help you take self-custody. But the time to do it was yesterday. And unfortunately, yesterday has come and gone. And now you are in your final, potentially, minutes, hours, days, weeks. I don't know. Again, I'm not here to predict, because I'm not here trying to sound smart, predicting the future. I'm just here saying we have to think in terms of being as secure as possible, as quick as possible. Now, most of you watching probably are not affected by this, right? Probably most of you watching aren't using Bybit, right? Obviously, most people aren't in Bybit, right? But if you have Bitcoin on exchange, this is your wake-up call. I love many Bitcoin exchanges. I love them. I love River. I love Swan. I love Strike. In fact, I had barbecue on the beach with somebody from Strike this morning, right? I love these Bitcoin exchanges, but you should not trust them. You should have your own keys. You should withdraw to self-custody. You should not trust Strike. You should not trust Swan. You should not trust Fortress Trust, BitGo, Prime Trust, whatever it is. You shouldn't trust them. You should withdraw into self-custody with your own keys. Single sig, multi-sig, multi-jurisdictional, multi-sig, KYC, non-KYC. Stop lollygagging, stop procrastinating, doing the thing you know you need to do just because you're distracted wondering which way to go. You know you need to do it. You know you need to go to the gym. You are morbidly obese. Stop debating if you should start with push-ups or squats. It doesn't matter. What matters is that you get off your butt and you start taking action. And so if you're procrastinating going to self-custody because you're worried about should I have KYC or non-KYC, if you're worried about should I do multi-jurisdictional, multi-sig, or single-sig, right? Or if I should do this or that, stop using that as an emotional excuse to put this off and take action. Text me, book a call with me, email me, reach out to me. I will do everything I can to help you as fast as possible because I understand the time-sensitive nature of this, especially if you are on Bybit. But hopefully, if you're not on Bybit, this is your wake-up call to stop being a child and procrastinating and get this done. You know you need to get it done. It's time to get it done. They just lost $1 billion freaking dollars of Ethereum. Now, of course, already I would be suspect of them, and I obviously wasn't ever promoting Bybit because, you know, I think if they are making the judgment call to go into the alts and Ethereum as they obviously were, there's already been a misalignment of worldview, let's say, between me and them. But I think this just hammers the point home. If you have funds in a Bitcoin ETF, if you have funds on Coinbase, if you have funds in your little Swan brokerage account, if you have funds on River that you've been procrastinating withdrawing because you think you're magically safe, right? I'm telling you, you're not. I'm not putting down any of those exchanges. I'm naming them by name because I love them. I used to work at Swan. I'm a huge fan of River. I've referred probably hundreds of people to River. I've referred many people to different OTC desks over the years, right? There's lots of great companies out there. But ultimately, if you're going to be the person that says, I assume nothing ever bad is ever going to happen again to those other exchanges, to those people holding the keys on my behalf, I'm telling you, you are being very naive. We have less in common with the near future than the ancient past. I've said that again and again and again for years, and it's very true in this case. The biggest rug pulls of Bitcoin history are in front of us, not behind us. Even if the next Bitcoin rug pull is 10 times smaller on a percentage basis, if the Bitcoin market cap goes up by a factor of 15 in dollar terms, it is still a bigger rug pull than anything we have ever seen in the past. More people are going to lose all their money than anything we've ever seen in the past. You magically think that, oh, Bitcoin's 0.2% of the world's assets now. We're home free. We're in the final stretch. You're deluding yourself. You're insane. Oh, yeah. FTX was crazy, but magically Gary Gensler figured everything out in the following 18 months, and now every single ETF for all time is never ever going to have any kind of fraud, user error, hack, or theft. Really? Really? Maybe you're right. I don't know. Maybe you're right. I don't know. Maybe I'm the crazy conspiracy theorist on the porch here, right? What do I know? Odds are, though, I'm right. Even if one time out of 20 you're right, and we magically get everything right forever, 19 times out of 20 I'm right, and you know I'm right. And you're just trying to delude yourself into thinking that I'm wrong. But even if what I fear never comes to pass, me giving out this warning and clearing my own conscience is still the right thing to do. So, if you still have your money, good for you. Good for you. I'm really glad. If you have your Bitcoin on those exchanges, it's time to withdraw. Now, a lot of people, rightfully so, would react to this video and critique and say, you know, Luke, yeah, sure, there's risk with the exchanges and the ETFs. I get that. I understand that, blah, blah, blah. But you're right, Luke, and something bad could happen to me. Sure, I can be worried and paranoid about an exchange casually losing $1 billion of a crypto asset, but I don't know how to manage my own keys. But I'm nervous about this, but I'm nervous about a $5 wrench attack. I'm nervous about what happens if I die, what happens if I get sick, what happens if somebody breaks into my house when I'm gone on vacation and steals my keys, what happens if I don't do it right, what happens if I leak my IP address, what happens if somebody in the future takes a picture of my seed phrase. Do I put it on paper? Do I put it in titanium? Do I put it in a safety deposit box in my home, under my bed, in my mattress, somewhere in my walls, right? What do? Do I memorize it, right? A lot of people react to that yeah, sure, there's risk with the exchanges, but there's a bigger risk with holding my own keys. And to you, I would say you're right, technically, but you're still wrong in the fact that you are delaying taking the right action, right? It's the same thing as saying, well, yeah, sure, I'm overweight from eating this junk food, but that junk food is worse for me, so I'm going to tolerate this junk food. It's like, no, the answer is do the thing that's going to make you healthy. If you are somebody that wants to take self-custody, but you are nervous about losing your Bitcoin once you take self-custody or in the process of you taking self-custody, this is precisely why you should reach out to me, text me, email me, whatever it is, get a hold of me. Let's have a conversation about how to do that to where even you can't rug pull yourself. Because most of you that are procrastinating taking self-custody, genuinely, I'm not making fun of you, most of you that are procrastinating taking self-custody are only procrastinating it because you believe the odds of you rug pulling yourself are higher than the odds of the exchange rug pulling you, right? That's really the only reason. And if we talk and we solve that problem, all of a sudden you're going to realize, oh, I should take self-custody. Let's do it. Let's get it done now, right? This is why it's so critical to do these things now, because slowly then steadily, for months and months and months, you can say, hey, yeah, you got coins on Bybit. You should probably get off the exchange. You should probably get off the exchange. You should probably get off the exchange. And then boom, now, we'll see what the next 72 hours happens. But yeah, if you're on Bybit, you're probably in trouble. Maybe, maybe not, I don't know. And of course, they always could get the $1 billion of Ethereum back. Maybe they get all of it back or half of it back or 25% of it back or 93% of it back. But whatever the case, it is a feedback loop. Even if they get all of it back a couple weeks from now, which is a big if, what's going to happen to the faith of that exchange? What about everybody else that right now is trying to get their money off of Bybit as fast as possible, right? It is a vicious feedback loop, and once it starts, it is very, very hard to stop. This is a big, big blow to the digital asset space, and I'm lumping crypto into that because Ethereum was the asset in question that was stolen. This is a big blow to anyone that has funds on exchange. And I would encourage you, whoever you are, wherever you are, whenever you are in the future watching this, be honest with yourself. Evaluate things in terms of percentages of risk. If you reach out to me and we help you set up a vault, a multi-sig vault, where even you can't rug pull yourself, you're gonna be paying 0.6% a year. Every single year, you'll have a 0.6% rate of risk. Maybe let's say 0.8%, 0.9% because you have other extreme tail risks, right? A 1 in a 500 chance there, or 1 in a 200 chance there, whatever. Less than 1%, that's the point. By having your funds in a Bitcoin ETF or on an exchange, you probably have well over 2% rate of risk. In fact, if you're on an exchange, I would say your rate of risk is even higher than an ETF. I would rather have a Bitcoin in the BlackRock ETF than on Coinbase, because both have the underlying of Coinbase, but more importantly, just as importantly, if somebody steals your credentials, SIM card swap you, whatever, they could steal that 100 grand. They could steal that Bitcoin like that, and there's very little you can do to stop it. Good luck getting a hold of Coinbase support, right? So there's probably a 2%, 3%, 5% rate of risk you're intangibly paying every single year by holding your Bitcoin on an exchange. Let's put some dollars to that, because typically people click on videos more if we talk more about dollars and cents. Let's say you have $1 million worth of Bitcoin. Let's say you have it all on Coinbase or all on Swan or Strike or River, whatever it is, because you're feeling lazy and you're not taking self-custody yet. Let's say it's a 5% annual rate of risk. Let's say you have $1 million of Bitcoin. You're gonna lose 50 grand this year indirectly to the risk of you staying on exchanges. That's the cost of what you're doing. Now let's say Bitcoin goes up. Let's say it goes to $300,000 a coin. That's $150,000 of risk you are wasting this year. $150,000. Let's say $150,000, 365 days out of the year, that's $410 per day. That is $17 per hour you are losing if you have $1 million of Bitcoin worth on some exchange somewhere, assuming that modest annual rate of risk. And I think it very well could be higher, because the higher Bitcoin price goes, the bigger of a target you become for the scammers, the bigger you target you become for the attackers, the bigger target you become for the $5 reg tag, the bigger target you become for the people that are going to throw lawsuits at you, right? Obviously, different levels of wealth have different levels of risk, right? Obviously, if you're in the 5-figure or low 6-figure range, your biggest concerns are the exchange going down, right? But the higher your portfolio is worth, the bigger the risk you have, the higher the rate of risk you have, right? Let's say you have one Bitcoin, $100,000 on an exchange. Maybe your annual rate of risk is 3%. You're only going to lose $3,000 of the next 365 days, 9,000 if Bitcoin goes to 300 grand, right? You're only losing 10 grand if you have $100,000 in Bitcoin right now in intangible risk. You're not tangibly losing it, but that is the indirect risk you're paying as a function of your procrastination of taking self-custody. But if you have $1 million, $5 million, $10 million, $20, $30, $50 million worth of Bitcoin, you know, your rate of risk is going to be higher, right? People that are going to throw lawsuits at Bitcoiners trying to make their lives difficult to steal their Bitcoin, they're not going to go after people with one Bitcoin when it's 100 grand. They'll go after people with one Bitcoin when it's a couple $1 million, don't get me wrong. But they're going to go after the people with 80 Bitcoin or 200 Bitcoin or 327 Bitcoin or 60 Bitcoin or whatever, right? And I know for most of you watching, you maybe don't have dozens or hundreds of Bitcoin. I get it, and I'm not talking to you in that specific moment. But I know a few of you have dozens or hundreds of coins. And you need to understand that your annual rate of risk is going up as a function of you having more money, because all the people that are going through lawsuits are coming at you. They're not coming at the 98% of people watching this video. They're coming after you, right? Same thing with the $5 reg attack. They're not going after the people with $5,000 worth of Bitcoin. They're going after the people with $50 million worth of Bitcoin. That's who they're going after. They're going after the people with $8 million worth of Bitcoin, right? All the $5 reg attacks, all the lawsuits, all the crazy extreme stories that you don't really read about online happen to the exceedingly high net worth people, right? And most of you, again, aren't necessarily there right now, but you're going to be there sooner or later, right? If Bitcoin actually goes to $1 million, $3 million, $5 million, $27 million a coin, you're going to be a high net worth person pretty soon. You have less in common with the near future than the ancient past. You've been living your entire Bitcoin journey so far in one, maybe two orders of magnitude. Are you really ready to skyrocket another couple orders of magnitude, right? Maybe you had 100 grand worth in Bitcoin that's now close to $1 million. Good job for you. But pretty soon you're going to hit $10 million in net worth. Give it 3 years, 5 years, 8 years, whatever it is. You're going to hit that at some point, because Bitcoin is going up forever, Laura, right? And you may think that, oh, it's about the same. No, it's entirely different. You've gone from 6 figures to 7 figures, and pretty soon you're going to be 8 figures. Have you ever had 8 figures worth of capital before? What about 9 figures, right? I'm rambling in this video, but the point is the same. I don't care who you are. I don't care if you have 0.6 Bitcoin. I don't care if you have 9 Bitcoin. I don't care if you have 110 Bitcoin. Whoever you are, feel free to reach out. And if you don't like me promoting myself, and you don't like me promoting the things that I do and fully showing you everything I do with how I do self-custody, if you don't like that, then fine. Do your own work, do your own research. Commit right now to spend 1,000 hours to learn everything there is about the tax code, everything there is about self-custody, everything there is about every single trade-off with every single wallet, every single kind of setup you could possibly have with your self-custody. Spend 1,000 hours to figure out every single kind of social engineering attack that could be leveraged against you to get that Bitcoin, because everybody's so focused on which hardware wallet should I use, and nobody's talking about all the different kinds of social engineering attacks that could be thrown against you. For every single malfunctioning hardware wallet I've seen 5 people that had their Bitcoin stolen from them via some sort of social engineering attack. The point is, if you're on Bybit, I am so sorry. This is not good news to hear. Right, just on the verge of the rest of this parabolic bull market year, now you have probably a very, very stressful time, right? Like your weekend is probably gone, right? Your work day is probably gone. It no longer makes sense for you to clock into work anymore, because every single waking hour you need to spend on getting your money out as fast as possible, assuming you're still able to do that. And that's my encouragement to the rest of you, because I can do exceedingly little once the ball has gotten rolling, once the momentum has happened, once the lawsuit papers are served, once the keys are gone, once the photo is taken, once the address is doxed. Once those things happen, I can do very little to help you. And guess what? I'm a lot more expensive when that happens, because not even just me, but the people that I recommend to you are going to be way more expensive, right? So think in terms of percentages of rates of risk. If you leave your Bitcoin on an exchange, maybe you have a 2-3% annual rate of risk. If you take self-custody, maybe you have a 2-3% rate of risk. Maybe you're somebody that doesn't feel tech savvy, and so your rate of risk is 5 to 8% every single year that you're losing intangibly to risk, right? With a multi-sig vault that's multi-jurisdictionally arbitraged, your rate of risk is less than 1%. It is lower risk. It is cheaper to pay a higher fee to take the self-custody, have the help of somebody guide you through the process, than to leave on an exchange. The only difference is that there's intangible risk or intangible cost. Intangible cost. Would you rather pay a tangible cost for somebody to walk alongside you who has a direct financial incentive to help you stack more Bitcoin? If that person is helping you stack more than 1% Bitcoin than you would have on your own, then they're effectively free. You're lowering that risk for effectively no cost. This is why I have been a non-stop, relentless advocate for you taking self-custody and for these kinds of vaults, because lots more people are coming into Bitcoin. And I'm telling you, 80% of the people in Bitcoin right now are not prepared for the next 10x, right? For every 100 people in Bitcoin, 20 of them are ready, 80 of them are not. In fact, I think that's even really too conservative. I think it's probably more like 5 to 95, right? So let's say something in the middle, right? Let's say 9 people out of 10 aren't ready. So out of, let's say there's 1 million Bitcoiners, let's say 100,000 of them or so are ready for the next 10x. And probably the next 5 years or so, we're going to hit 8 million, 10 million or so Bitcoiners. Do you understand that we have less in common with the near future than the past? Do you understand that we're going from 100,000 people that are maybe ready for the next 10x to suddenly in the next 5 years, we're going to have 5 to 10 million people that demand solutions? The time is now. Please. I don't care if you reach out to me. I don't care if you do the homework on your own. My encouragement is, either way, just freaking do it. And stop putting this off. Because you never know when you're going to wake up someday and your exchange is the one that has casually lost $1 billion freaking dollars of Bitcoin or whatever other collateral there is, right? And that is what I hope and pray doesn't happen. Hopefully, there's no second order effects from this, right? Even if it's not your ETF that goes down, hopefully it's not some other thing that's going to have contagion spilling over into your security, into your piece of paper, right? That is the hope. So, I've said enough. Feel free to text me. Feel free to reach out to me. I'm happy to talk. I'm happy to help you. If you don't want me to help you, fine. Just do it on your own. But don't delude yourself. Don't kid yourself. It's time to put your big boy pants on and get this done. Because if you don't, you aren't bullish enough. You actually don't think Bitcoin is going to $1 million. I say these things. I make these videos. I give these rants. I talk for hours in front of a camera. because I am clearing my conscience. I have told everyone in my life, my loved ones and family members, to buy Bitcoin. Most of them didn't, and that's fine, because I cleared my conscience. It wasn't for them, it was for me. And likewise, many of you watching this are going to lose a third of your money, half of your money, 80% of your money. Some of you, all of your money. I don't care if you reach out to me or not. I don't care if you give me positive or negative comments. I don't care if this video gets 500 views or 50,000 views. I'm clearing my conscience. Because guess what? Not a single person that was impacted by the Bybit loss of funds today. And I'm sure I'm going to get probably, whatever, many people that reach out to me in the coming hours here because of this. Not a single one is going to be able to say, why didn't you warn me? I warned you. I did everything I could. And to each their own. Some people will tolerate the intangible risk of an exchange or an ETF. Some people will tolerate the intangible risk of having single points of failure with their self-custody set up and not thinking through every possible attack vector for their Bitcoin. And other people will be happily willing to pay a tangible fee to reduce that risk and actually have a possible amount of upside by having a group of 40 professionals every single year putting in 80,000 hours into helping them figure out how to buy more Bitcoin. The choice is yours. It's pretty simple. I made it very clear. And so it's up to you. What are you going to do in light of this news? Are you going to complain that, oh, Bybit should have been more secure? Oh, Bybit should have been blah, blah, blah. Are you going to externalize this event and assume that won't happen to me? No way I could be in a car crash. I don't need a seatbelt. I don't think my house is going to burn down. I don't need fire insurance. That's crazy, right? No, you wouldn't do that. In the same way, you wouldn't go cheap on the health insurance for your children just because you hope and believe they aren't going to get sick, deathly sick, right? It's the same thing with your Bitcoin. Treat your Bitcoin seriously. Just because you don't think something bad can happen doesn't mean it's not going to happen. And I hope you're right. I hope, but nothing ever bad happens to you ever again, and nothing ever bad happens ever to your counterparty risk or your custodian ever again. I hope that's the case. I wish you all the best. In the same way, I wish no ill will on your children's health or your home not burning down. I wish no ill on anybody. I'm not happy to see this news today. That's $1 billion that's been lost. Do you know how many people that is? Do you know how many people probably just had some percentage of a significant amount of their savings wiped out? So many people are having a rough day because of what just happened. And it was all preventable. But people don't want to take that responsibility. So, 80% of you watching won't take the responsibility. That's fine. I really don't care. I wish you all the best. I didn't make this video for you. I made it for me to clear my conscience. For 20% of you, this is your wake-up call. Take action. Either reach out right now and invest 1 hour in a conversation, let's talk, or on your own, spend 1,000 hours and figure it out. I don't care, just do it before another $1 billion gets lost. Because again, and I'll finish on this point, we have less in common with the near future than the ancient past. The majority of the scamsters are in front of us, not behind us. The majority of price appreciation for Bitcoin is in front of us, not behind us. The majority of life change you're going to go through as a function of you getting rich on Bitcoin is in front of you, not behind you, right? That's the whole reason you're here in the first place, right? Like, if you think this is over, you're going to be in for a really, really rude awakening.